What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today in the shop we are getting ready to fire up the rally car for the first time with the new motor. As you can see, there is an open bay. The purple WRX we were building is with its new owner now, and we've been doing some behind the scenes filming for the upcoming Forester build project, which you guys will see soon. But in the meantime, we have sort of pushed the rally car off to the corner in no man's land over here and just kind of let it sit. So we're gonna try to fire it up tonight with all the new changes, and I'll show you what we're doing. All right, so we were missing a few parts on here that we needed for another car. So the C-shaped insulated pipe right there for the turbo. Sorry, the light is blinding. We had to put that back on, and then underneath where the coolant pipes come right here, they go underneath the car, and then there's two little C-shaped hoses. Those ones were leaking, so I got new ones here, Subaru replacement ones. So I'm hooking those the rest of the way back up, and then we need to put the intercooler back on. I've already got oil in it. We need to hook the boost lines up, and that might be about it. And then the plan is to do the initial start, make sure that everything sounds okay with the engine before we put coolant in it. And then when we're sure that the engine's going to run okay, we're going to fill it up with coolant, and then we have to break the cams in for about 20 minutes at about 2,500 RPMs. So at that point, we'll bleed the coolant system and everything at the same time. That way it's all done. So I'm going to throw you on the tripod here, finish buttoning it up, and then hopefully get the first start. See if I forgot anything.
There's fire extinguisher?
Yeah, it's in here. I'm only gonna start it for a second though. Alright guys, so the camera died last night, and in the last clip you saw us firing up the car. The reason that it didn't start over easily in the beginning is a few things going on. Number one, this is a 2.5 liter now with some pretty aggressive cams. It also has E85 in it that's been sitting for a little bit since our last race. Normally we start up on 93, but Steve, our tuner, said that this tune for the 2 liter version would be close enough on the 2.5 to get it started. Break the cams in, you got to run them at 2,500 RPMs for 15 or 20 minutes. And then to put, 20 miles or so on the original initial break-in, we'll change the oil and then run out the rest of the tank and put some 93 in it. So E85 sitting for a while does not like to start on this car when it's really strung out, and it was a new motor with cams. But we did get it started. The video cut off, and then actually right after the video cut off, we developed a coolant leak, which usually happens. Sometimes I'll pressure test the system before we start, but I forgot to go rent the tool, and my friends were at work that had it. You can actually see some of the spots down there. So just a public service announcement, the water pump down there that these metal hard lines go to has 2 elbows. I think I might have showed you in a previous clip. Those, it seems like every time you mess with them, they leak. So I replaced the small one, but I hadn't touched the larger one, and it wasn't leaking on this car before. So I replaced the smaller one in the time lapse. You guys can see me under the car, but I had to take the bigger one off to get the clamp on the smaller one. And sure enough, because I touched it, I fired the car up. It had a hairline split in it. I think I already threw it out, or I would show you, but I could wiggle the hose around and see it seeping out. So last night I fixed that, filled it back up with coolant, and then I didn't record it starting up again because I wanted to make sure there was no other leaks, and there wasn't. So I just went ahead and broke the cams in for 20 minutes. I did just post a clip on Instagram of what she sounds like now with the rotational idle and the cams, and it's pretty crazy. It's significantly more aggressive than it was before. So but now it fires right up, especially because it's warm. I've had it running for about 40 minutes, cycled the made sure the fans worked because I had to rewire the fan connectors last night, and they both work. I let the thermostat open twice and cycle, so the coolant's pressurized now. Also broke the cams in, so now even though we haven't tuned it yet, you can still turn it on, turn the ignition on. Starts right up. It sounds really good. Especially once it settles into its place like that. That's good. No check engine lights or anything. The tank is almost empty, as you can see, so we're going to run it out at 93 and then we will get tuning. So next steps are going to be to drive the car around, put a couple miles on it, change the oil to get all the metal shavings out from breaking in the new motor, check for leaks again. I need to fix the rear brakes, and then I got something special for this, which I'm going to wait till Remy comes over to unbox, but it may or may not be in that primitive box over there. And then we're going to install that mod, and then we're going to do some testing at the end of the month because I need to get more seat time on this car. This season ended up not working well with my work schedule and my personal commitments, so we're going to clean the inside, break the motor in, make a few driver changes. I'm going to get a non-dished steering wheel, mess with my seating position a little bit, make a few changes on the car, and then just start putting some miles on this. We might even take it to the track, throw some coilovers on it from the Forester that I have, swap the top hats over and go. So that's going to conclude it for the first part of the new rally car build. Also got this engine back. This is going to a friend Chris. This has a Manly pistons and rods, or excuse me, JE pistons, Manly rods, a nitride crank. We're fully building this one out, and I got to clean this transmission case because we just put new synchros on this 6-speed here for another friend. So gotta get this back together, that back together, get that motor broken in, and the old Forester waits in the darkness. Also, we got to get that motor back in David's car. So we got a lot going on. I can't wait to show you guys what's in these boxes. It's gonna be a game changer, and I guarantee you have no idea what it is because I have not even hinted about that. That was kind of a last minute surprise. So, all right guys, I decided not to end the video back where we were because started taking this thing for a test drive and remembered that we had 0 brakes from the Minnesota experience. So took the brakes off, took the caliper helmets off, and as you can see, we wore right through. That black mark is the O-ring that separates the fluid passage where it comes in here and goes through the caliper. So that's why they were leaking. Even with the helmets, we still wore through all the hardware, and it was pretty bent up. And then the rotors were in rough shape, and the pads, some of them were actually broken, and they had big grooves in them. So like this one here, you can see broke at the top and a little bit at the bottom. Big grooves in them, bent the slide pins, and the calipers are trash. So I got some replacement calipers. These are actually cheap, like part store ones, but they are supposedly OE quality remans. They're just unpainted. So luckily I had a set of DTC Hawk pads from when they had their coupon earlier, so I'm switching to DTC 60s in the front and 30s in the rear. I've been running the HP Plus pads, but they're a little bit weak for manual brakes now. You got to have a little stronger, more aggressive pad when you go to manual brakes from Boosted. So this is the caliper from the parts store. It's just non-painted. It's exactly the same as the OE spec. This one's already loaded with the new Hawk pads. They have 2 left to do on the other side. Hardware is good except for the spring that comes with these ones, or with the kit isn't very good, so I used extra of the old one. But these are in, greased up the slide pins. They're in really good shape. I was about to mount them, and I noticed that the rotors were in really bad shape too. They had a center, well, not really bad shape, but I didn't want to ruin this expensive set of DTC pads. So because of the groove in these, obviously the rock touched the pad as well. So I got them cut. David, our crew chief, has a rotor cutter, and he was able to cut both sides really nicely. And we checked the rotor for wear. So it says on this rotor right there that they have to be 16 millimeter minimum thickness. They were at 17.7, but they were warped and they had some heavy grooves in them. So we took 1 millimeter off, so they're 16.7, and they're now perfectly flat and clean. Well, they're dirty, but the rotor's clean. So I'm going to rub these down with brake cleaner, put them on, install the new brakes, and then I will bed the new brakes to this. This is better than just running them like they were. I don't want to buy new rotors yet because I still have to make a new wheel scraper, and I don't know if the first design that I'm going to come up with is going to work, so I don't want to put expensive Subaru OEM rotors or Subaru OEM calipers and expensive new rotors on if they could get trashed again. So cutting those was the next best option, get some more life out of them. We only wore about a 0.5 millimeter this season off the rotor, and we still have 0.6 millimeters before they're at the minimum, so it should get us through another season theoretically. We'll see how much more aggressive the pads are. So next project, get that caliper off, get the new calipers on. These are the crazy good quality Goodrich brake lines that actually drug this whole assembly under the car for over a mile and didn't tear or leak. This is literally the exact same line. But being that they are getting old and the coating is cracking, I went ahead and ordered some new stuff. So KNS Brakes offers the same Goodrich company, lifetime guarantee. This is their new Phantom brake lines. So this is the most pressure rating, and it has this black coating over it, which is supposed to be stronger than the clear coating that I have currently. So this has a lifetime guarantee also, but this is the same quality that I'm used to, but an even better coating. So this should last a while because the other ones have been on there for 4 years. So I'm pretty excited about that. The part number for this is for a kit for a GD, so 0207 WRX and STI and Outbacks, 24215 in black. Goodrich Phantom. So I need to put these on. put the other caliper on, load them with brakes, get them on, bleed the system. We normally run the blue brake fluid, but I am going to try the Modal RBF 600. I have a hookup on this to get it at a good price, so I'm gonna try that. All right, I went ahead and got the first side done without it being on camera, just because I wanted to make sure that these lines were right. So this is a different application than if you were buying these for your street car, because we have this humongous aftermarket rally suspension, which doesn't have a brake holder, and then this is a 1994 GC chassis, but WRX calipers, rotor hubs, drivetrain. So you got to make sure that it looks like they all use this same style connector, but the difference is the WRX has this right here, which would normally thread into the bracket on the side of the brake. So this one doesn't have it, so it doesn't really matter if you ordered the GC or the WRX kit, but otherwise get the kit that you have if you have a holder for your brake thing. So what we do on these with DMS or any other big suspension is we just loosely wrap it around and zip tie it. You want some play as the shock compresses up and down, but you don't want this to hit the tire or get caught up in the springs if you didn't have these bags on. So back here there's plenty of clearance, and I moved that medallion out of the way so it's not rubbing on this housing. And then you just zip tie it in place kind of towards the middle, loose enough that it can move up and down with the shock. So brake clean the rotors, got the caliper on, the pads are loaded. These calipers actually seem pretty nice, except for the hardware is not good on them. So save your old hardware, or it'd be worth going to Subaru and getting, especially these wear shims, brake pads slide in. These pads didn't really want to fit in this caliper, and I wasn't sure if it was the pads or not, but it ended up being the hardware that came with the caliper. So this is Subaru hardware, and they slide in and out nicely. So good. So far the calipers look like they're a good idea and they will hold up, but use your own hardware. So I'm not going to fill this up with fluid or anything yet, because I got to do the other side, and then we got to swap the lines on the front, and then we'll have to bleed the brakes, and then we'll have to bed these in, because now this is a new pad and a cut rotor. Okay, so this is how we normally run our brake lines so they don't get caught up in here. We'll loop them around, like I said, with some space to leave. Unfortunately, I believe that we're going to run into an issue with this. First, let's just take a minute to look at how nice these look with new pads. Fresh cut rotor and this beautiful black Goodrich Phantom lines. So nice. It's going to be dirty from here on out, so gotta enjoy it. So, I think that we're going to run into an issue with clearance in this area, which you guys don't know about yet, but I'm trying to be proactive so that once I put fluid through these, I don't have to mess with them. So on the other side, I've been messing around with putting this line somewhere else. I don't know if you can see that, but trying to keep it away from the tire more, and also not around the shock. So this looks to be pretty good. There'll be a little bit of rubbing on this, but it would be rubbing on this anyway. So I'm thinking about getting a P-clamp and putting a P-clamp right here. This is at full droop right now, so if I put one right here, as the suspension flexes, this piece will have a little bit of play, but it'll keep the line away from the tire and the suspension. So I'm not positive it's going to work. I kind of test fit it with the street tire, but the rally tires are a little bit different dimensions, so I'm going to get some P-clamps tonight and get one of the rally tires back on, and then kind of mess with it and see if there's a way that we can do that without having it touch the suspension. And if not, then we're going to go back to the other way we were doing, because it was working, but I'm just trying to get even more room. Ideally, we could have some custom lines made that come out right here and go straight to there, that are shorter, where it would just be a little junction, just long enough for travel that it would ride up and down. But I don't know if I want to go down that road right now. So I know some of the WRC cars and stuff, they run mounts through like a firewall mount, a bulkhead through the car, so that these lines aren't right here, and then this will just go into there, which you can keep it away from the shock and the tire. You could put it back here if you wanted to, and then inside the car run it around. But We might do that on the next car, but not on this one. So I'm gonna mess around with this a little bit more and then we'll see what we come up with. Okay, we're back. So, as you can see, I changed the design up. I believe this is the best option we have for right now until we could put some bulkheads through the car and then have it super clean. So, these are flexible lines. They don't bend too much, so you gotta loosen the brake hardware up and then you can spin this if you want. So basically, this way it's not touching the shock at all, so no matter what happens with this, it's not gonna affect the brakes. So it comes off the banjo down here, gently curves over here, and then I have a P-clamp, and then this is just where I stashed this unit that's supposed to bolt over here since we don't have it. That way it doesn't rub on anything. It's also kind of stiff, so it can kind of act as a tension slide between these two. So I did 2 P-clips. In the event one breaks, there's a lot of debris and rocks that come up here. These bit pretty good on the metal, but in case one breaks, there's 2, and then this is just loosely resting over there. There's plenty enough room for tire clearance up in here. Shouldn't come anywhere close to the tire. So I'm not 100% sure that these will stay. If the self-tappers come out, I could run a bolt into the car once it's above the frame rail here where it's in the trunk. But we're gonna do some testing at the end of the month with some new stuff. So I'll bed the brakes in, drive these on the street, keep an eye on the wear, see if there is any wear, and then I'll see how these hold up after testing. But I think this is what we're gonna run with for now. Even if this isn't the end-all be-all option, it's definitely better than how I had them before, where they were just zip tied here and loosely draped over, and they still lasted 4 seasons like that. That being said, they did have some pretty good wear after 4 seasons, but Goodrich makes really good lines, so you can see the coating wore off in a bunch of spots where they were rubbing on things. That one split pretty good there, but it didn't wear through the steel yet. Close. So yeah, those lasted 4 seasons, more than I can ask for. This is the cheaper version of the line. Those are, I think they're like $50 for the set of rears and $55 for the set of fronts or something like that. So not bad. These Phantom lines are a little bit more expensive, but they should wear longer. And I've already changed the other side too. Same design. This one has 2 P-clamps, but because of this molding ridge, since there's no fuel tank here, I did one down and one up to keep this from flopping in towards the tire. So there's enough tension to keep it in place, but it's loose enough to flex. Also, this is at full droop, so really, as long as this isn't super tight, it's not going to go any lower than that unless we rip the wheel off again, which then we're not worried about the brakes anyways. So this should be good, and I put the jack under the car and compressed it all the way, and there's plenty enough travel. So we're going to roll with that. So I'm going to swap the front lines out and then bleed the brakes, and then this thing will be ready to drive.